In fact, what you can see on your screens right now are live visuals of Trump's caravan, which is headed to leave for the venue where the inauguration ceremony to appoint the 47th President of the United States of America is to take place. The ceremony is going to be indoors. This is the first time after Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as the President of the United States of America in an indoor ceremony. This is to be taking place in the Rotunda and not on the west side of the Capitol as it was earlier decided upon. Last minute changes that Trump and his team made over there. And this is of course due to the freezing conditions that Washington, D.C. is facing. In fact, to give us more details, our correspondent Susan Tehrani is now joining us live from New York. Susan, I'm told that you are at the Trump Tower right now, a historic building in its own right. Tell us, Trump has decided to execute more than 200 orders as per reports. What more can you tell us about these orders, and do tell us how iconic the Trump Tower itself is?
So I am standing in front of Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. As you know, the president-elect, he's still the president-elect, stayed here many times when he had those court hearings during his campaign, and his supporters were always outside, demonstrators, counter-protesters as well, supporting him or protesting him. Today, there's going to be a watch party inside Trump Tower at around 12 p.m. local time. It's going to go on until 3 p.m. It's a ticketed event, and because of the freezing cold temperatures here in New York and on the East Coast in general, we're going to be seeing a lot of these watch parties and events take place indoors. So I'm just going to move aside, and you can see that while the Trump Tower stands strong and tall, there is some police presence, but there are barricades as well. But you really don't see many people standing outside here. As for those executive orders, yes, Trump plans to declare an emergency border, state of emergency for the southern border. On the one hand, he wants to really focus on the security of the border. It's going to be very border heavy. He wants to designate drug cartels as terrorist organizations, and then going after drug cartels as terrorist organizations, of course, is going to have different laws and regulations as they do now. He will also take a number of major actions on deregulating energy production, such as repealing rules on electric vehicles. He plans to declare a national emergency related to energy as well. So there are a lot of those executive orders that President Biden signed. A lot of them are going to be undone by the president-elect once he does become president on Capitol Hill today. So a lot of it is going to be on the border, on energy. We are hearing that there's going to be some other issues like federal workers and their rights and regulations regarding that as well. But nonetheless, we'll be watching very closely. This is something that he has time and again said during the campaign trail. He mentioned it very firmly last night as well, that he's going to get working really essentially as soon as the oath of office is over.
Do we expect to see some screenings of the inauguration ceremony, what have you, in the city of New York? Tell us how the city of New York is gearing up. Trump is supposed to have become really big with his businesses in real estate in the city of New York. That's where he started, in Manhattan. Tell us what you can see around you. How is the city gearing up for the inauguration ceremony?
So most of the action, of course, is in Washington, D.C. And because of these freezing cold temperatures and the weather advisory that's happening here in New York, many people have been advised, notably the elderly and children, to stay inside because of the freezing temperatures. So we're not going to really see a lot of presence outdoors. But as I mentioned, there's going to be a watching party ceremony here at Trump Tower around noon when he does take the oath of office. There is also a bar downtown that hopefully we can come to live that's going to have a watch party at around 12 noon until 3 p.m. as well. But nonetheless, many people here in New York have traveled to Washington, D.C. in support of President-elect Donald Trump. And those that stay in New York, well, they're going to be having those festivities indoors.
Do tell us a little bit about the celebrity guest list that is expected at the inauguration ceremony. Do you know if they have already traveled to the event or they're on their way? We recently heard of Nelly being criticized for performing at the ceremony, along with a couple of other star guests who are being criticized. Give us a few details regarding that.
Yeah, there were, I mean, it was from the liberal Democrats that they sort of criticized Snoop Dogg for performing during a cryptocurrency party. There's always going to be, this back and forth, this division, this partisan division about who should perform at what inauguration, who's a sellout, who's not. So a lot of that happened online. But nonetheless, in the real world that we live in, there isn't a lot of that. I think the mood of the country right now, even here in New York, is one of unity. And we're expecting to hear that from Donald Trump during his inaugural speech as well, where he's expected to talk about unity. He's expected to talk about strength. And he's also expected to talk about, looking to the future. Carrie Underwood, she's a country rock star here in the United States. She's expected to perform. And also regarding celebrity, well, at this point, the tech industry's leaders they have celebrity status. They are expected to take part in the inaugural ceremony. As a matter of fact, you have Sam Altman from OpenAI, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, Mark Zuckerberg from Meta, Elon Musk, of course, from X, which is a close ally of Donald Trump. Now, again, because the planning changed, the guest list has really been shrunk. It's a lot smaller than it would have been if it was under normal circumstances outside. But nonetheless, we are expected to see a lot of faces. Of course, Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, and John Voight as well. They are, at this point, ambassadors for Los Angeles after that wildfire. They were with President-elect Donald Trump at the Capital One Arena last night, and they're expected to, of course, be with him once again today during the inauguration as well. And then you have those balls and the parties that are after the inaugural ceremony and after the dinner. And at that point, President Trump will be taking part in 3 of them.
Susan, Bitcoin hit records high. The stock market seems to be doing pretty well ahead of the inauguration. Before the market opens there in the US, do we see further movement upwards, or do you expect it to stay where it is as of now?
Yeah, well, we do know that Donald Trump is very business friendly. He's promised a lot of tax cuts for corporations on the one hand, and of course looking out for the smaller businesses on the other. So we are expected to see a pretty good stock market rallying opening at opening hour, with the bell expected in just a few minutes. But we did also see that Donald Trump on Friday afternoon released his first meme coin. That really took a surge. And then after that, last night, we learned that Melania Trump, the next First Lady of the United States, also she released her meme coin. So crypto is really having a really good day today because of those developments, and the stock market is expected to be doing pretty well, at least in the next 48 hours.
Right. Susan, hold that thought. Let me just take our viewers through what's in the itinerary for the day. Of course, Donald Trump will attend a ceremony at St. John's Church before his wife and he head to the White House for tea with President Joe Biden. That was the first event on the schedule. Then around 9:30 a.m. EST, there are music performances live from the Capitol, where Carrie Underwood, that you just mentioned, will be performing before Donald Trump is sworn in. Then again at about 10 a.m. ET is when the official guests begin to arrive outside the Capitol. 11:30 a.m. is when the inauguration ceremony is to take place. This is again the Eastern Standard Time. These are rough timings, but we do expect these events to take place around this time. And after that, of course, Donald Trump will take the presidential oath inside the Capitol's rotunda, after which he will deliver his inaugural address. And then we will see the departure ceremony of the former president and the vice president, who typically leave by helicopter. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.